Stand and join me in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. The regular agenda is before the council, and if there are no items to remove or add, I would entertain a motion for its approval.
Seconded.
Motion's been made and seconded to adopt the regular agenda. Discussion? All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. The consent agenda is before the council, and all items with an asterisk are considered to be routine by the city council and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member or a citizen requests, in which event the item will be removed from the general order of business and considered separately in its normal sequence on the agenda. Is there any items on the consent agenda that anyone in the audience or on the council wishes to add or remove?
Mayor, I would ask to remove 9J from the consent agenda.
Okay. Any other items? If not, I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda with the removal of item 9J.
So moved. Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to adopt the consent agenda. Discussion? All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. The minutes of the regular city council meeting held July 11th, 2023, and the special city council meeting held July 24th, 2023 are before the council. Is there anyone in the audience or any member of the council that wishes to make any changes to the minutes? If not, I would entertain a motion for their approval.
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the minutes of the regular council meeting held July 11th and a special meeting held July 24th. Discussion? All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Tom and Pam Mortensen are here this evening, and they'd like to make a presentation regarding wreaths across America. Welcome, Tom and Pam.
Thank you, Mayor.
And granddaughter, it looks like?
Yep, granddaughter's with us today, too.
There we go. Thank you, Mayor and members of the City Council. Once again, we're talking about wreaths across America. This year, it's going to be larger than ever here in Detroit Lakes. We have extensive plans with a lot of the veterans organizations. Just want to give you a heads up because we are the only city, actually the only place west of Minneapolis in Minnesota, west central Minnesota, that does this ceremony. There's over 3,700 locations, and all these wreaths that we put out are handmade from Maine. They're shipped over here, so we're very proud to be a participating city in this event. And it's a unique opportunity because it's at winter, December 16th. Pam's got a little pamphlet she's going to hand out. And then, because we're planning ahead here, we want you to know of another event that we just confirmed, the first official act that we're going to do, and this is my flag assistant here. This is going to kind of amaze you. We're planning already for the 250th anniversary of the United States of America on July 4th, 2026. The Boys and Girls Club has agreed to have the young people put 250 of these flags on the hill that used to have another name, but the hill that has the World War II memorial on top of it by the Boys and Girls Club. So it's going to be kind of spectacular, but this is the first confirmed event that we have, and we just want you to know that we're already starting to look at the 250th anniversary of our country. And I've lost the mic. And that's it. Thank you.
Well, we appreciate it, Tom and Pam. Thank you for your work.
Pam's got some things to pass out. Pass And while Pam goes out, I just want to thank the Park and Rec Department, Public Works. They came through and we've got those ADA compliant picnic tables that we talked about before at the Gar Park, and that's a unique park, as we know, it's one of 3 in the nation. So we're very glad to see that ADA compliant. So thank you again for the Park and Rec people and Sean and his team for helping us out on that project.
Thanks for your work, we appreciate it.
And that's it for this end. Okay.
Thank you.
Back again.
Okay, so at this time, I'm going to adjourn the regular meeting and call to order a public hearing to receive public comments on the proposed abatement of diseased trees for 2023. Sean, is there anything that you want to say initially?
No, Mayor and Council, this is just our annual disease tree abatement. If you look at your list, I'd like to say 95% of it is elm trees. The reason for it is there is a fungus that blocks the water into the trees, which is causing the problem with our elm trees.
Okay. Is there any objections that anybody filed? No? Is there anyone in the audience that's here to speak about the diseased tree abatement? If not, that public hearing is closed. Ron?
Okay, and I want to say we did have one objection. The lady didn't think the city was charging her enough to take her tree down, so. So that was, that's different, that normally doesn't happen. But anyway, Sean has looked over all these, and it's in your packet in the consideration of resolution ordering and the abatement of all these trees as presented. I so move.
Second. Motion's been made and seconded to adopt the resolution ordering the abatement of the diseased trees in the city for 2023. Discussion? All in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries. I think I'm hearing a nice rain out there, which is good. So I am going to adjust a few other items on the agenda, but I think we'll start with the first one being, it's on item 5A in the Community Development Committee. Alderman Carlson is going to take that agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Item 5A, consideration to the second reading and adoption of ordinance 514 to give consideration to amending section 13 of the zoning ordinance to allow funeral homes as a permitted use and crematoriums as a conditional use in the B3 auto-oriented business district in section 2 of the zoning ordinance regarding definitions. This is the second reading. We reviewed this last time. If you'll recall, we also added in the annual reporting requirement for the testing. The committee discussed, and we recommend moving forward, and I so move.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to give second reading and adopt ordinance 514. Discussion? All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the motion carries. Without objection, Sean, I'm going to jump to item 6C, which is the Project 412 art business.
Key item 6C is consideration of request from the Project 412 to do sidewalk stenciling and art surprises. Mary Beth Gilsdorf is here. I'm going to have her come up and she can tell you a little bit about it, and she might even have some pictures to show all of you too.
I do. I am basically presenting on behalf of Amy Stearns, who is having fun. And I'm just presenting the Create Deal project is one that Project 412 and the Historic Homes Theater got a Blandon grant, and they're doing several art projects, public art projects around the community, and murals and the public utility boxes with artwork. And then one of them is we're calling Art Surprises, which is just a fun, I would define them as tiny murals, and most of them are going to be on different little public areas. So they're all going to have little QR codes like this so people know that they're legit, they're not graffiti. And we're looking for 10 of them. We've got so far 4 of them on public buildings, if you want to pop on. This is the first one that our local artist, Hannah Spry, the last name might sound familiar, she started on this yesterday. So it's just a fun little, this is the biggest art surprise. So you would stand under there and the little sign you can't read very well, but it says free rides. So this is going to be on the Precision Printing Building on Minnesota. And then this is the tiniest of our art surprises, and this is at the Holiday Haven, just a little broken brick that is going to be a little mouse-heavy nightcap. Then the next one is, this is on the Red Pine Quilt Shop, and we have a little spigot, and she's going to make it look like there's water coming out, and a little frog with a floaty. And then one more is on the Pemberton and the Council Realty, that courtyard, they've got a little railing there, and it's going to have a little snowboard polar bear. So these are the kind of things that we asked Hannah to design and come up with some really fun ideas. They're just all about fun and getting people to walk around and smile. So we've got 4 of those on private buildings. Now we want to look at doing some on some public way. And one of the next one, this is it's a creative way of doing street art, and it's called, it's a hydrophobic spray paint, basically Rust-Oleum, and it doesn't allow it to get wet. So she uses a stencil, and so that when it rains, the part that stays dry is what the stencil is. So she has a saying, rain is cleansing for the earth and the soul, and she wanted to put that on one of the sidewalks. She has it there on the St. Mary's Essentia Rotary sidewalk before the crosswalk. It could go anywhere, so we're very open to that. She's got another design, a cute little, obviously very simple maze going into the playground on North Shore Drive in the city park. And she also had some designs that were just very positive Post-it notes. She shows these on Larry's path in the city park. You could do one, we could do several, we could spread them around. We're just kind of trying to come up with ideas, something positive. And then this one is in front of Best Bets on the sidewalk. There's a couple side, drainage covers side by side, and she thought to make some fun faces. And then this one is on the corner of Ace Hardware on the sidewalk, and it is hilarious. Looks like something coming out of the sewer. And then this one we talked about on that retaining wall on the mall parking lot. So as you're walking, getting people to walk from the mall down to the community center, this is a print that Hannah has done and sold, but it's basically instructions on how to make a paper sale. So step-by-step instructions. So these are the kind of ideas, and I don't know if we need to present this exact design in this exact space, but we wanted to at least start the process of being here to be able to do some of these fun things on public way.
Okay. Any questions for Mary Beth?
Like, as I mentioned in our committee meeting, I asked Mary Beth if 412's brought this forward to our city of Detroit Lakes and newly formed arts committee, because part of the reason we have that, in order for our city to get art grant money, the city has had to have a group of our own. And so I'm hoping that these two groups will work together on projects of the right hand know that the left hand is doing. So, see, but you said you didn't know if they met there or not.
Well, and I know that obviously this grant has like 3 parts, and I know the grant, the utility boxes is something that the Arts and Culture Commission has done. They were in charge of making that happen. And I know that there's been several people on that committee as well as the committee talking about the murals and arts prizes. So I know they're aware of them. I don't know specifically on these designs.
Okay, thank you. So at this point then, go ahead and give consideration to the request from Project 412 to do sidewalk stenciling and art surprises. I so move.
Second. Motion's been made and seconded to give approval to Project 412 for the sidewalk stenciling and art surprises. Discussion? All in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. Opposed, the motion carries. Without objection, I'd like to move to item 8C. Wendy, that is on your agenda, I believe. 8C.
Item C is consideration to approving the issuance of a public gathering permit for Mark Payne for a wedding. Do you want to review it a little bit? I see Mr. Payne is here as well.
Yeah, Mayor and Council. So basically our ordinance requires when there's a gathering more than 100 people to get a public gathering permit. So the application, as you can see, is in the packet. They're expecting 250 people. It's private property for a wedding.
So the staff recommends approval of the public gathering permit, and then we talked a little bit at the committee. There's a second component to this. The applicant has also requested a noise variance. Basically, they want to have some entertainment beyond our 10 o'clock time. So that will have to be on the September agenda because we actually have to do a notification to property owners within 500 feet. So again, the recommendation is to approve the public gathering permit here in August, and then in September, the council will have the noise variance to consider. And yeah, the applicant is here if there's any questions.
So our committee did talk about this yesterday, and as Kelsey pointed out, the application for public gathering is, we are recommending that we approve the issuance of that permit with recognition that the noise piece with the band going until a certain time will come to the September council meeting.
Is that a motion?
So that's a motion to approve that.
Is there a second?
Seconded.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the issuance of a public gathering permit for Mark Payne. Discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the motion carries. Is there anyone else in the audience that wants to move something? I don't see anybody, so we'll go right back to the community development agenda. Sean?
All right. All right, item 5B, actually, if there's no objection, I'd like to combine items B and 5B and C. Consideration to a resolution decertifying tax increment financing district 16-1. That was for Modern Business, and 32-1 for Northland Portable Welding. Kelsey, can you give us a 10-second overview?
Mayor and council, pretty straightforward, and both these cases are commitment to the developers have been satisfied, so now it's time to decertify the districts.
Thank you. The committee discussed, we recommend approval, and I so move.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to decertify tax increment district 16-1 and 32-1. And it's okay to be on one motion?
I think so, yeah.
I mean, technically they're resolutions, and so they should.
Are they resolutions?
Sean, let's make them separate.
Okay, so I move that we approve item 5B.
Is there a second?
Seconded.
Motion's been made and seconded to decertify TIF District 16-1. Discussion?
I just think we should let the public know that when we decertify, that means that for years this tax money's been going to the business to help pay their expense, but now that's done with, so the tax will go into our regular budget.
Further discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
All right, I move we approve item 5C.
Is there a second?
Seconded.
Motion's been made and seconded to decertify tax increment financing district 32-1. Discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the motion carries.
Item 5C, consideration to a resolution, item 5D, consideration to a resolution approving a variance to allow a 6-foot-high fence in the front yard at 1266 East Shore Drive, Robert Keel. The homeowner has requested we table this until September. The committee discussed and agreed, and I so move that we table it until the September meeting.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to the table. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Kelsey, did you want to add something?
Yeah, if I just want to add one thing. So that applicant actually submitted a new variance request today.
Okay.
For, again, the 6-foot fence in the front yard plus the 4-foot fence that's on the lakeside.
Okay.
Because of timing, actually, that's not going to make it to the August Planning Commission. We're actually not having an August Planning Commission, so that's actually going to end up being in September Planning Commission. So you'll probably see both of them. You'll probably see that item then, depending upon how the September Planning Commission meeting goes at the October City Council meeting.
Thank you. Okay. All right, 5E, consideration to the transfer of property from Detroit Lakes Development Authority to the City of Detroit Lakes. Kelsey, can you give us a quick overview?
Mayor and council, probably the best thing to do is, if you see in your packet a map, Larry might know a little bit of the history here, but this came up because the Development Authority received a letter from Sean well, technically my name's on it, about diseased trees. And then that kind of had the discussion of, well, why does the Development Authority own this? I think some time ago, these parcels came up in tax forfeiture. The Development Authority acquired them to hold them. And really, it probably makes most sense to have these transferred into the city's name. They're not really developable parcels. They're not being held for any type of redevelopment. The city does own other wetlands in this area. Typically, the city just holds those in public trust for stormwater retention, what have you. So basically, the action item though is the city council would have to accept that transfer, and then we'll have to do some paperwork with Charlie, but we need council action to accept the transfer first.
Right, the committee reviewed and we recommend approval of the transfer, and I so move.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to transferring property from the Detroit Lakes Development Authority to the city. Discussion. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
I have no further items for the council, Mr. Mayor.
We're up to the Public Works Committee, Chairman Zeman.
Okay, item 6A, yesterday we had discussion regarding the South Shore Drive with the bike lanes and walking lanes and so forth, and what we decided to do, we had 3 gentlemen showed up and gave presentations that were going to be here tonight, but then they called, none of them can make it, so we're going to move that out to next month or the following month, but we're going to meet with city staff, the Public Safety Committee, the police chief, and our city engineer, and see what we can come out. And some of the concerns was speeding and correct lanes and so forth, but this will all be looked after, so that'll be coming up going forward.
Ron, can you move that microphone a little closer? It's hard to hear you read.
Sure, there we go.
Okay, so we'll just table that.
Table that until next month then. And then next is item B, was discussion we had regarding a 4-way stop at Summit Avenue. And as you know, we're going to be doing Home Street all the way from Summit down out to Highway 10. And one of the deals was to look at possibly having a 4-way stop there, having it 4-way stop in front of the West Jones Funeral Home there. And maybe, John, if you want to just give a little kind of an idea of what's going to happen on that street in the next few weeks and how we're going to redo that whole area.
Sure, Mayor and Council, the background on this is we're going to be reconstructing Summit Avenue from Home Street to Highway 10, and that includes the Home Street intersection. That sort of brought this to light of, whether or not we should consider a 4-way stop at that intersection. We're going to have to make it a 4-way stop, at least temporarily during the project. There's the logic. If we want to do this, now would be the time. We can kind of get people trained. I'm still sifting through some crash reports and things like that, and a few other factors that I'd like to just kind of digest a little bit further before I come back with maybe a full recommendation to Public Works next month. But I would say that, as it sits right now, there does seem to be some supporting factors to considering that. So more to come.
Okay, thank you, John. So then, and that was for discussion. Then we go on down to item D, consideration of resolution authorizing the preparation of a preliminary engineering report for the 2024 downtown street and utility reconstruction area. And John, do you want to go over this one?
Yeah, this is fairly routine. This would just be the first step in this reconstruction project, kind of calling it the West Downtown Project. It'll involve portions of Frazee Street, Holmes Street, front, a little bit of lake, and an alley. So this will be a full street utility reconstruction project that's in the capital improvement plan for 2024, and this is the first step to get it off the ground.
Okay, and the committee recommends, and I so move the resolution to authorize the preparation of preliminary engineering report for this project for 2024 in downtown streets utility reconstruction. I so move.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to adopt a resolution authorizing the preparation of preliminary engineer's report for the 2024 downtown street project. Discussion. All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, next item is item E. It's the consideration to a resolution authorizing the updated preliminary engineering reports for the 2024 street rehab. And John, you want to give us another update on that?
Sure, Mayor and Council. like the motion or the agenda item reads, it's an update of an existing report, so a little bit of background or refresher is we prepared a report last winter, early spring, looking at various streets around the community that would be good candidates for pavement rehabilitation, not full reconstruction, but just pavement rehab, mill and overlay, full depth reclamation, etc. We presented that report, and unfortunately, what we found is we had far more need, of course, than we did available budgets. We split the recommended streets sort of into two groups. One group was going to get done this year, and one group next year. Group A, we took the bid, got one bid, $1 million over budget, and rejected it. And so the intent now is to go back and freshen up that report with all of these streets again, and re-examine the appropriate fix. So there are some that unfortunately I thought we were probably going to be able to do some overlays on, but this spring was so tough on things that there's a few of them that I'm not so certain that we're going to be able to do an overlay. We either need to let them go or do something a little bit more drastic. So that's
Okay, the committee looked at this, and I make a motion of the resolution authorizing the updated preliminary engineering report for the 2024 street rehab. I so move.
Second. Motion's been made and seconded to adopt a resolution authorizing the update of the preliminary report for the 2024 street rehabilitation project. Discussion? All in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Next item is F, consideration of resolution setting a public hearing for the capital improvements coming up here. And as all of you know, we've been doing an awful lot of street work, and probably every councilman here has been asked, when's my street going to get fixed? When's that going to happen? But we do spend a lot of money on streets, and just to give you an idea, from 2018 to 2022, we spent $43,701,000 on those completed projects, and then from 2023 to 2028, for proposed projects, we're looking at $66,488. And then we're looking at parking lots, because a lot of that parking lots is paid by that food and beverage tax. And from 2019 to 2022, the city spent $2,970,000 on parking lots. And now going forward from 24 to 28, we're looking at a potential of $6,273. And quite frankly, we're going to have people eat a lot more food, because those are some big projects, and we need money to get that completed. But this is consideration of resolution to setting a public hearing for that capital improvement. And John, you want to go over that?
Yeah, Mayor and Council, this is simply kind of the final step in the capital improvement plan process. We've presented it, we've discussed it, we've made modifications to it, and the final step that we typically take is to actually have a public hearing. Members of the public can come out and express their opinions on the plan, and after that, the council can consider adopting the plan.
The committee recommends, and I so move.
Second. Motion's been made and seconded to set a public hearing for the capital improvement plan. Discussion? All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, next item G, this is consideration to approving the installation of 3 new pickleball courts at Peoples Park. As you know, we did 6 pickleball courts here a couple years ago, and that was funded by the pickleball players themselves. And when we did that, we had 6 pickleball courts, and it cost $400,000. Well, now, just a few years later, we're going to put in 3 pickleball courts, and the price is still the same, $400,000. So we're getting half the courts that we paid the same money for. But these folks said they're going to raise the money, so the committee recommends that we go ahead with the pickleball park. And I so move.
Is there a second? Second. Motion's been made and seconded to approve the installation of 3 pickleball courts, additional pickleball courts at Peoples Park, to be funded by the Detroit Lakes Pickleball Association. Discussion?
I would just comment. Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead, Wendy.
I'm just curious about location, how much green space is going to be left behind in that park if we continue to add. I love the idea of it.
I might be able to
positive
answer.
thing, but
So Wendy, this fits into the conceptual master plan of Peoples Park that we looked at. The park board has looked at. I don't know that I'm fairly certain we brought this in front of the city council as well, so it's part of the whole overall People's Park plan. So it would be these ones on the, is it north?
Yeah, and when we did that before, we were looking also at doing, Gorilla Bay Park and all that stuff, and we're not gonna do any of that, this is just what we're proposing.
Does that help any?
Yep.
Further discussion?
Any visual packets.
We have a motion and a second, right?
Yes.
It gets to be too long, I kind of get lost. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Okay, next item was H, consideration to memo from the Public Works Director to approve the purchases of cameras for Long Lake Park. I'm gonna have Sean give us an update on that and what's gonna happen there.
Mayor and Council, the Park Board has put aside $20,000 a year to add cameras to parks. The next, and then we prioritized them, and the next on the priority list is Long Lake Park. So we did receive bids, and again, we had budgeted $20,000, but this came in at $10,391.
Okay, so the committee looked this over, and with the bid that came in, very favorably, so move that we go ahead and put in those, those cameras and take care of vandalism, whatever might happen out there at Long Lake Park, and I so move.
Second. Motion has been made and seconded to approve the purchase of cameras to be installed at Long Lake Park. Discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
The next item was item I, is consideration to a special event application for the Lake Crisis Resource Center to hold Break the Silence as a stop domestic violence and public display will be in the city park from October 1st to 7th. I'm going to have Kelsey kind of go over that a little bit with us.
Yeah, Mayor and Council, the application's in your packet. This is a little bit different, maybe a little bit of a unique special event app. So what the request is, they would actually install, I think, 50 of these silhouettes into the city park. Plus, they plan on having a table set up with some staff members over that week.
Okay, and the committee reviewed this, and we recommend that we go ahead with this special event for the Lake Crisis Center, and I so move.
Second. Motion has been made and seconded to approve a special event application for the Lakes Crisis and Resource Center. Discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
And our last item is item J. It's consideration to accepting the city engineer monthly report. Maybe we can highlight what's happening and moving forward on that, John.
Sure, Mayor and Council, the first 5 projects on the report are all kind of in the same category, and that includes both the Westlake Drive projects, the Willow Homes and Frazee projects, Long Pine Estates, Museum, DLCC parking lot. All of those are effectively done. Just have various minor punch list items. Most of it's related to turf and getting that into an acceptable condition before we can accept the project and consider it final and start issuing a final payment. So I plan to take those off of the report in coming months, so you won't see those again. Campbell Avenue and Linden Lane is well underway. Essentially, they're just busy putting sewer and water into the ground at this point. So a lot of underground work for the last couple of weeks, and probably at least a couple more before we start getting into some street construction and grading and things like that. Summit Avenue, we talked a little bit about that already. That project, they're actually starting some of the temporary water supply system this week and getting that charged up and disinfected. And then next week, they will be starting at the south end of the project. So that'll be in the Holmes Street and Summit Avenue intersection. That will be closed for about 2 weeks. So there'll be other accesses set up for the community center and things like that, and all be signed. But then the work will progress north. But that project will go deep into the fall, would be my guess. Terry Street and Dandrew food pantry project. All the underground is complete to the food pantry and within the Dandrew subdivision, so that underground work is done, and they'll be working on street construction sometime over the next month or 2. I suspect there's going to be a little break in the action. The next 3 projects, 9, 10, and 11, those, there's nothing to report, those are on hold. We rejected those bids, like I mentioned earlier tonight. We'll add the projects here that we're just authorizing this evening. And then I also point out that we are starting Public Utilities Commission authorized the final design of the new water tower, 1.5 million gallon water tower, this morning at their meeting. So that will be added to this. We'll be working on that for the next year or so.
Okay, thank you. I make a motion that we go ahead and approve the project status report that John just gave us.
Second. Motion's been made and seconded to accept the city engineer's monthly project status report. Discussion? Did you say the water tower was next year, Vernell, or John, next year? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
See, I have one other, it's not on here, but I just want to have Kelsey give us an update. We do have the bonding committee coming through for our ballpark to take another look at it, and you want to say anything about that when they're going to be here?
Yeah, Mayor and Council, if you recall, a few months ago, the council authorized us to submit another bonding request to the state. The good news is the Senate Capital Investment Committee, who normally does a tour around the state to look at these bonding requests, are stopping in Detroit Lakes next Tuesday, the 15th. They're going to stop at the ballpark. I think it's like 5:25, right around 5:30. We'll have about a half hour with them. We'll do a presentation, make our pitch, and then they are going to be in town later that evening too to hear a couple of presentations over at M State. It sounds like Heartland Trails will be part of that discussion. So it's a good sign that they're here, and kind of our best foot forward is why the project needs funding.
And for those of you that would like to come on August 15th at 5:25 at the ballpark, please come down, because it'd be nice to have that place full of baseball fans to show this Senate group that we're behind it. We'd like to see some bonding dollars come from it. And that's all I have.
All right, we'll move to the Public Safety Committee. Chairperson Spry.
Thank you. We have two more items. Item 8A, discussion regarding a training center for the fire department. You can all find it in your, sorry, is that better? I forgot about that. Item 8A, discussion regarding a training center for the fire department, and Chief Hansen would like to come on up and kind of outline that for us. We do have a memo added to our, on our desks here, outlining this idea for a training center, but I think it's best if you kind of walk it through with us for a little bit, and we're just kind of in the, moving forward.
Yeah, Mayor and Council, so this is very preliminary discussion, no action needed tonight. Just really kind of an appetite check for what you guys are looking for if you guys would support this project. So what I'm looking at doing is going out for a grant to fund something like this. And it would kind of just create more of a training opportunity, more of a mutual aid opportunity for all of the departments to kind of come together and do fire-related functions. Along with that, it'd be kind of a multifunctional training center, so we would also have confined space training, rappelling. It could serve police functions as well, so it'd kind of be a multi-role sort of situation. But again, very preliminary. A lot of work needs to go into this ahead of time. Contracts need to be signed with a lot of the Becker County regional fire departments, and we got to get some stuff worked out. So I'm here to answer any questions you guys might have about it, but that's the gist of it.
Any questions for the chief at this point?
I just maybe want to mention that it's from a FEMA grant, and it works very much like the airport. We only have to come up with a 5% match.
Right.
So it costs a lot, but if we get this from FEMA, it takes care of the lion's share.
Right. Yeah. So for a community of our size, it'd be a 95% funded grant. So we have to come up with 5%.
Further questions for chief? Okay, thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
Wendy, no action, all right?
No action is needed. Just wanting to keep a surprise. And they'll be working with other local fire departments to partner on that, so that 5% is not on the city exclusively. It will be with other fire departments as well.
Wendy, you might want to move your mic a little.
Still? Okay. 8B, consideration to the memo from the fire chief approving the purchase of an extrication tool. So in our packets is a memo for the extrication, I can't say that word, extrication tool. This equipment was funded, let's see, the purchase was approved in the equipment fund last year when we were doing budget, and the cost for the tools is covered.
Covered within the budget.
Yes, within the budget, I'm sorry.
Okay, is that a motion?
Yes.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the purchase of an extrication tool for the fire department. Discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Anything else, Wendy?
Nothing else.
Okay, go to the Liquor and Gambling Control Committee. Chairperson Ubles this evening.
Yes, in consideration to the first reading of ordinance 516 amending the city code section 702 liquor and wine licensing. I'm going to turn it over to Kelsey to kind of explain that.
Mayor and Council, so there's two ordinance proposals. The first one, a little bit more straightforward. Basically, there is two different licenses that the state allows us to issue if we want to add it to our ordinance. One deals with on-sale liquor licenses on-sale licenses at convention centers, and the second one is on-sale liquor licenses for basically summer collegiate baseball teams. In both those cases, what we do, whether it's at the DLCCC as a convention center or at the ball field, we basically issue temporary permits. This would actually afford the option for either one of those facilities potentially to actually get a full liquor license, a full-time license, if that ever came about. So the ordinance basically just provides us the option, two more license options that we could be able to issue at the city.
You can see the committee discussed and recommends, and I so move.
Seconded.
Motion's been made and seconded to give first reading to ordinance 516, amending the city code section 702. Discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. First reading is given to ordinance 516.
And in the consideration to the first reading of ordinance 517, amending city code section 704, consumption and possession of liquor and beer. Kelsey.
Mayor and Council, so the second ordinance maybe gets a little more technical. Again, we're amending section 704, which deals with basically consumption and possession of alcoholic beverages within the city. The best way I can explain it, what we're trying to do here is remove convention centers from kind of this prohibition, because we were seeing maybe differential treatment with the convention center that's city-owned that sits right next to the museum. You would need to have a consumption permit in the convention center, but you wouldn't need a consumption permit in the museum, even though they're part of the same building. So that was the intent, to basically clean up some of this language, take the convention center language out so that that prohibition isn't there. And then part of that process, we just did some kind of technical changes, cleaned up some of the languages so it's consistent between the different subdivisions. As I explained in our Liquor and Gambling Committee, as you look at the ordinance, reason why there's different sections is subdivision 1 is possession of alcoholic beverages, subdivision 2 is the consumption part, and then subdivision 4 is basically like open container. That's why there's different sections. Each section has where you can have it and what the violation is.
Thank you. So the committee discussed and recommends approval of the first reading of ordinance 517, amending city code section 704. As I mentioned, the committee recommends approval, and I so move.
Second. Motion's been made and seconded to give first reading to ordinance 517, amending city code section 704. Discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries, and first reading is given to ordinance 517.
And if I could move us to item 9J that was removed from the consent agenda. That 9J should be consideration to approve the issuance of for a gambling permit for Essentia Health for their bingo and raffle on September 28th, 2023 at the Pavilion. Is that correct, Carrie? We did discuss and recommend approval. And I so move. Sorry.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the issuance of a gambling permit for Essentia for bingo on September 28th. Discussion? All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
And one more item, Mayor Kelsey was going to just address some questions about the cannabis legislation continues to surface, and there was a clarification that maybe Kelsey wants to share with the council.
Yeah, Mayor and Council, again, if you recall last month, the City Council approved an ordinance that prohibits cannabis use in public. And one of the questions we've been getting is, restaurants, a lot of them, restaurants and bars, obviously any type of indoor consumption, especially smoking, is prohibited by the Indoor Clean Air Act, right? But a lot of them have patios or smoke areas outside. So the question was, well, can they consume cannabis products in those smoking areas? And the answer is no. Our ordinance that was using the statutory language from the cannabis legislation defines what those public places are. And public places include areas that are generally accessible by the public. So even though it's on private property, since those smoking patios or smoking areas are generally accessible by the public, you could not consume cannabis products in those areas. So we talked about that a little bit at committee and just wanted to clarify that's the advice we've been giving to establishments in town, that would be prohibited through our ordinance.
Okay, thank you. Is that it, Jackie? Okay. Nothing on the Public Utilities Commission unless Vernell's got something he wants to tell us about.
We're good.
Okay. Anything from city staff that needs to be added tonight? I do have two recommendations for appointments. One would be an appointment to the Becker County Child Care Foundation Committee, and I'd like to recommend the name of Katie Basie. She is with Essentia Community Health here in Detroit Lakes, and I would recommend her.
I was so moved, Casey. Katie Macy. Put on the Becker County Child Care Foundation.
All right. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to appoint Katie to the Becker County Child Care Foundation Committee. Discussion? All in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. And I'd also recommend the appointment of Andy McCombs, who is with Midwest Bank, to be on the food pantry board on behalf of the city. And I would recommend approval for Andy.
I so moved that we approve Andy McCombs to be on the food pantry board.
Second. Motion's been made and seconded to approve Andy McCombs on the food pantry board. Discussion? All in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. I still am looking for a member to serve on the Minnesota Flyers board, so if anyone has any suggestions, I would be open to hearing that. The budget committee meeting schedule for the balance of those meetings are in the packet. There's one more joint government meeting date, and there are 4 remaining council meetings for the balance of the year. Jay, anything more to add?
Nope.
Sean? Nope. Jackie? Ron? Wendy?
Nothing here, thank you.
Dan?
Yeah, I just want to make a pitch for the next 5 weeks of budget meetings, 7 a.m. I think it's a good time to come out and learn a little bit more about budget and everything going on, so I didn't have anything else to talk about tonight, so I figured I'd give that sales pitch. So on out on Thursdays.
Well, it sounds like our timing is pretty good, because I think the rain just stopped, so the business of this council has come to a conclusion. The meeting's adjourned.